Welcome to episode 13 of the Monsters of Geek podcast. This is a two-man team tonight as Joe is sick. The Yeti has been he's fallen. The Yeti has a cold, and Jared may jump on. He's actually on vacation a little bit, and he's at the hotel, so hopefully he'll be able to jump on the Wi-Fi. But as we all know, hotel Wi-Fi isn't the reason you go on vacation. So but yeah, so this is episode 13. It'll be me and Andrew here to hold down the fort. And Andrew, how you been, man?
Pretty good. Fresh off a nice trip to California. I know you guys have missed me the last 3 weeks or whatever it's been. Podcast hasn't been the same. Am I right?
We haven't had as much negative comments.
You guys are more positive without me.
Tell us about you. You went and saw the Golden State Warriors play. I want to talk to you about this. We talked about this on our other podcast, Spear Sports and Sarcasm. Go subscribe to that. But talk about your Golden State experience a little bit.
Well, it was pretty awesome, as you might imagine. We drove in, and our wives dropped us off and drove on into San Francisco. And so we took the BART, which is the public train system in San Francisco. But after we got our fare for the ride back before the game, we were walking back towards the arena. And as we were walking across the parking lot, a parking lot attendant asked us to just stop and hold on for a second. And he's just directing traffic. He's, making the way for somebody to drive through. So an Escalade turns left and passes us into this really close parking lot to the arena. And we're like, okay, that's some rich guy with some really good seats or something. And then we start to walk. He's like, no, hold on. And so we stop again. And here comes a Tesla hatchback that Steph Curry's driving 5 feet in front of me. And I'm still kind of struggling to come to terms with the fact that the parking lot attendant didn't tell us to have our phones ready, because we were going to want to remember that moment for the rest of our lives as the closest we would ever get to Steph Curry. But it was pretty cool. It was a little disappointing that he drives a hatchback, but can't win them all. The game itself was awesome. It was game 2 of the Portland series, the Western Conference semifinals, which they trailed most of the game, and then they pulled out there at the end with the good old death lineup. Except with Festus Ezeli in. For whatever reason, Festus being in kind of helped turn that game. I'm not sure what it was. Bogut looked lost, I thought, that game. But anyway, atmosphere was amazing. Got this cool shirt I'm wearing.
There you go.
Yeah, strength and
if you're not
numbers,
watching,
I forgot what it said.
Strength.
Yeah.
Adidas,
And Adidas. And the T is a 7. And the T in strength is a 7, and the last E or the only E in numbers is a 3 for 73, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that was my Golden State experience. Well, actually, I had another cool experience I'll have to tell you about offline. But yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've never been to an NBA game. When me and my wife Sean has talked about maybe going, I'm a big LeBron fan, and I really wanted to always go see him play. And as his career winds down, I need to kind of do that. But we've always planned a trip to Cleveland, but just haven't got a chance to go see. I want to go see a basketball game, and then we both want to go see the Christmas Story House, which is apparently in Cleveland as well.
Okay. I was going to say, just catch them in Charlotte.
Yeah, well, we talked about that. One of our mutual friends, Abe Wells, when he played in Miami, him and a couple guys caught him in Charlotte, I believe. And he said it was pretty cool. He said a great place to watch a ball game. Really wasn't a bad seat in the house.
For a second there, I thought you were saying Abe Wells played in Miami. I was like, wait a second, how did I miss this?
Yeah, they picked him up off waivers. So
okay, pretty cool.
Yeah, now Charlotte's good. So it may the ticket may be a little bit more expensive because they're actually
you can get season tickets down there. Now they're bad seats, but you can get season tickets down there for about $10 per game right now.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, and then if you do it this year, then you will get priority to the All-Star game tickets. Should you?
Oh yeah, it's
on there for that. So that would be cool. I have a friend at work who's thinking about doing that. Of course, now all 2 people that listen to this podcast are going to jump at that same opportunity.
Don't worry, I'll edit this out. Don't worry about that. We'll keep that secret for a little while longer. All right. Well, besides going to California, your little adventure there, what have you been playing, man? What have you been reading? Just what have you been doing as far as geek culture?
I'm about done with Dark Souls 3, and by about done, I mean I'm about to quit. Not that I'm about to beat it. I'm about done, as in I'm about to quit, because I don't think it's for me. I gave it a shot. I gave it a run. If I'm playing with friends, if I've summoned them into my world, then it's okay because I can watch them kill everything. But if it's just me, I just don't have whatever it is in me. I thought I would give it a try. Just not a good fit. It's cool. It's all right. Still a good game, just not for me. I did just get the platinum trophy for Severed, which is one of the easier platinum trophies I've ever gotten. But it was amazing. PlayStation Vita game by Drinkbox Studios, I think. The guys that make Guacamelee, yeah, and Tales from Space, Mutant Blob's Attack, I think they also made, which are all great games. Guacamelee, of course, is available on PS3 and 4 now, but it originally released as a Vita game. Anyway, Severed is really good. It's extremely, extremely heavy on touch control, so if that's not your gig, then you might not like it as much, but don't just write it off because of the touch controls, because they don't require a whole lot of precision. But it was a pretty easy plat. It was a lot of fun. It has like a Metroidvania feel to it, not to the Metroid extent, but there are 4 or 5 abilities you get over time that contribute to how you navigate the world and open up new areas and whatever. It's pretty good. And then I still have not played Uncharted 4, which I'm still dying to play, but have not played yet because I haven't had time.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I got a lot of games to play, so I've been trying to hold off on getting some new stuff. And Uncharted is one of those games that you'll be able to pick up for years. So it's not that big of a deal right now.
Hey, there's Jared.
Hey, there he is.
Hey.
Coming to us live from his own personal island. He's on vacation. Right. What's up, man?
I'm good. How are you all?
Good. How's your vacation?
Good. Just got here today, so been really busy.
Stayed there the whole week?
No, just to Wednesday.
Oh, that's good. So Jared has taken time out of his vacation to be with us. That's how much he loves us here.
How sweet.
It touches my heart, man. Thanks. Jared, we just talking about Uncharted 4. I know you're like me. You're probably going to wait on it a little bit. What else have you been doing this week as far as I mean, Andrew hasn't picked up Uncharted 4. I'm going to play 2 and 3 on the HD re-releases before I get it. What have you been up to as far as geek culture?
I watched Deadpool. That's about all I've had time for this week. It's been pretty busy. But I do want to play Uncharted 4. I watched a little bit of stuff on it, and I'm really excited about it, but just don't know when I'll get around to it.
What did you think about Deadpool? Is this the first time you've seen it?
Yep.
Okay. What did you think about it?
I don't think it was quite as good as
everybody thought it was.
Maybe it was as advertised, I guess. I mean, it was good and it was funny, but overall, I'd give it like a 7.5 out of 10 or so. Okay. It was pretty solid. It was hilarious. The action was solid. But I think you can see where it's leading to a lot bigger things in the future. You can definitely see that there's a big need for something like that in comics. But I don't.
What didn't you like about it? Like, what was? I mean, because usually people. I mean, obviously 9 to 10. I mean, that's what people give, and sometimes you got to, be very skeptical about that at most of the time when it comes to movies. Especially someone like you who watches a lot of movies. Like, it has to be a really good movie for it to be a 9 or 10 to you. What do you? What was the thing that kind of dropped it down to about 7, 7.5 or something?
Which
is still good, by the way. We're not trashing it, but
oh no, it was a good movie, and before all the reviews and everything, I was like, I could buy this movie. I almost bought it at Walmart because it's $20, and I was like, I've heard such good things about it, but I don't know. I think it's kind of the way the story progressed was part of it, because there was a lot of jumping back and forth. And not that it bothers me that much, but I don't know. there was just something about it. And I can't really put my finger on it, but like I didn't put it to that elevation. It wasn't as good as Guardians or Captain America, Winter Soldier, or Watchmen. It just wasn't on that level. It was kind of one of those, I watched it one time and it was funny, but it's not something I will sit down and watch again.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I'm part of a lot of, just like all those probably some Facebook groups, just geek stuff and superhero and stuff like that. And everybody was just, so far out. And I thought, man, this must be one of the greatest movies ever. And it definitely is something new. Like you said, something that, people can say Deadpool because it's rated R, maybe has a little bit more sense of humor. But I think something like Guardians that doesn't have that rated R rating, I think is more of a challenge to get that humor out of it. And that's one of the things that if they could have pulled that off with a Deadpool movie, because I think you can. I think you could have made a PG-13 Deadpool movie with a lot of the same sense of humor used in the comics, which is over just enough over the kid's head for them not to know anything. I think Guardians, as far as their sense of humor, I think they achieved more because they had a little bit more of a they had to push the envelope versus Deadpool, who opened the envelope and could pretty much do whatever they wanted to.
Yeah, and I kind of have a hard time seeing how they are. It was very, the language, which I knew going in that it was going to be over the top, but it was more so than I expected. Mm-hmm. So I have a hard time seeing how it was an R and not like almost an NC-17.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah,
I'd heard some scenes as far as the language and some of the scenes that were in it really, really pushed it.
Oh yeah, I mean it was constant barrage of not necessarily just cursing, but just other things as well, and then the violence. But not that it bothered me, but it was just one of those things. But it made for a hilarious movie. It kind of reminds you of like a trying to think like almost like I guess like a Tarantino movie. Like he wrote the script. That the flurries that came out were just constant. So.
Well, that's good. I may be able to hold off and watch. I don't know. I still haven't decided if I want to watch it yet. But
it's definitely worth a watch because it does find a good way to build backstory, and he kind of incorporates the X-Men in it, and he pokes fun at himself and in such a way because they talk about Ryan Reynolds in it, and then only 2 X-Men show up in the movie, and he kind of pokes fun at that. It's like, about having a movie budget and all kinds of stuff. I mean, breaking that fourth wall was absolutely hilarious.
I'm glad it's good. Like I said, I was, for you to say it's a 7 or 7.5, I trust your opinion than just anybody just geeking out over it. I'm a fan of the character. I read him when I was a kid. I think he's really funny. I think when he's done really well, he's really funny. And I knew that movie was going to be over the top, and I may try to hold off a little bit, but I'll definitely see it at some point, I'm sure.
One of my favorite Deadpool things is, I think it was in one of the Marvel vs. Capcom games. If you push the taunt button when you're using Deadpool, he just says, "Taunt button!" And that just always cracked me up. It's just a subtle fourth wall break that just really nice.
One of my favorite. This is way back in his first series. I say around probably 93 or 94. I can't remember. I think it was the Deadly Circle or something. I can't remember. Comic is worth a ton now. I saw it in a comic book store. It's like $80-$90. Mine's, I don't know where mine is. It's probably all tore up because I read it so much. So it's not worth $80 and $90 to me. But he's basically being hunted by these mercenaries, and he jumps out of the shadows and starts beating everybody up. And the whole time he's just going through the whole lineage of G.I. Joe and how when they first started out, he's like these He-Man big dogs. Now they have like sissy, fake hair and ponytails and stuff. And he's kicking everybody's rear end, and at the end he's like, "What do you guys think?" He goes, "Why have you guys quit talking?" He turns around, they're all dead. So just one of my favorite Deadpool moments. He goes through the whole thing, and it's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, so Deadpool, Jared gives it a 7.5. So if you don't trust any other reviews, right here at Monsters of Geek, we got the movie review guy.
Why did you hate the movie, Jared? Why did you hate it? Why did you give it such a low score?
Yeah, we won't get downvoted because of you.
Oh, I know. People will hate me for that. I mean, it was a solid movie, but if I'm gonna give something an 8 or a 9 or that, then it's gonna be something that I can sit down and watch multiple times. That's something I really kind of value, is that rewatchability of something.
Yeah, I think as both moviegoers and gamers and stuff like that, how many times do we go back to a game and want to play it? Or we'll go back and watch a TV show. Or
Winter Soldier.
Yeah, well, Ninja Turtles. Okay, I can
Still
go back
mad
and watch
about
Ninja
that.
Turtles.
I haven't brought it up in a month.
Well, I mean,
you haven't been here in a month.
Exactly.
Think about like Citizen Kane. Like, I know Citizen Kane is one of the greatest movies ever.
Awesome.
It's an awesome movie, but can you sit down and rewatch it multiple times?
I've done it a couple times.
I've done it once, but movies like North by Northwest or Rear Window or something like that, to me, that's something I've sat down and watched multiple times, and that kind of holds a little higher standard for me. So.
Yeah, something about those older movies, man, you can watch them a ton. Like The Searchers, I could watch Searchers, 4 or 5 times in a row. And then this is coming from a guy that usually doesn't do that. Like, it's hard for me to even get in a mindset. I told my wife one time, I was like, just got to be in a mindset to watch a movie. Jared can just pop one in and it's done. But I have to, do I really want to spend an hour and a half doing this? And I usually do, but it just takes a little bit of brain.
Yeah, I also watched, what was it? I went back to several 80s movies. I watched Summer Rental with John Candy and Summer School, both 80s movies that used to come on TBS a ton.
Summer School had the guy from NCIS, right?
Yep. I can't think of his name.
That movie's really funny.
Oh, yeah, and which I'd only seen it on TBS, so watching it on Amazon was a little bit different experience, because I didn't know the amount of language that was actually in the movie. Some of it was kind of surprising.
All right. Well, what I've been doing, I actually sat down and I saw where somebody tweeted out, I can't remember who it was, but said that the Magic documentary, now I can't remember the name of the documentary also, but the new 30 for 30, about the Orlando Magic, and basically is it more about, Penny Hardaway and Shaq and how that team went from, an expansion team in 6 years, was in the finals, was at the door of the finals again. Then kind of Shaq left, and the whole chronicle for that. Really, really good documentary. Obviously, there's not many 30 for 30s I've watched I haven't liked. But just a really good, concise history of that time period. A lot of it was talking about how Shaq was the guy and how Shaq kind of transcended basketball. Even when Jordan was still in the league, people were talking about Shaq. And how, Penny wasn't a very popular draft pick, and how they traded that away. I remember when I was a kid when they traded for him, and I was a huge Penny fan. I was more of a Penny fan than a Shaq fan. So I was telling my wife when they lost to Houston in the finals, it was one of the only times I've ever cried over a sport. I was like 8 or 9, I think. And my papa, who's a big basketball fan, he just sat there rubbing my back. I had my head buried in the couch cushion, just crying my eyeballs out.
How long did that series go? It wasn't very close, was it? Or was it
sweep?
Sweep. Okay.
And he's just rubbing my back. They'll be back. And that's the whole, the whole time. They interview Horace Grant. Horace Grant's like, as a veteran, you may not get back there. And he said, Penny and Shaq's mindset, and they interviewed him, was like, I will be back next year type thing. And they never did. They never made it back. And that's the cruelty of sports. It is what it is. And it was just really good, and really kind of want to do some research. I think it draws some parallels to, you look at Oklahoma City, and they have Durant coming up, and them getting Durant, and then people not liking the Russell Westbrook trade, or getting Russell Westbrook, just like the Orlando fans didn't like when they got Penny. Orlando, got 2 back-to-back number 1 picks, and Cleveland did it, I think, recently with 2 number 1 back-to-backs. And they talked about the luck of the draw and all that stuff, and just how that team kind of came together with some, bringing in Horace Grant, Brian Shaw, and just kind of that 6-year period where they went from sucking completely to Shaq coming in. They win 40 games, and then they're in the playoffs the next year. So, just I highly recommend it. It's a really, really good documentary. Other than that, been playing some Mystical Ninja. Been watching a lot of old school WCW. I started from Goldberg right after he won the title, and that started from there. And the top of the cards very rarely have a good match. The middle and from the beginning of the card to the middle, really good matches. WCW had some. Me and Jared kind of talked about this. It was really weird because WWE had the main guys, and they didn't really have great wrestlers on the mid to lower card. On the other end, WCW had terrible. Well, most of the time, say probably 70% of the time, their main event wasn't really good, but their mid card down was awesome. And I think it gets crapped on just a little bit too much, Jared. As far as at least their pay-per-views were good, because it's not so NWO focused like Nitro's was. Them running out and beating people up and all that stuff. It was much more of a concise wrestling show, and I thought that they did. It gets crapped on a little bit, but they got some really good talent on that roster.
Yeah, the pay-per-view were always really good, but like you said, you go to a Nitro and it was NWO all the time. And before the NWO came about, though, there was a lot of those shows that were really bad. Just go watch Uncensored.
Oh, geez. Anything with Hogan.
Well, I think it's Uncensored 95 with
the Tower of Doom or whatever.
Yes, the Tower of Doom. But like the first match on the card, I think was Guerrero and Mysterio, and it was amazing. But then it was just horrible match after horrible match the rest of the card. So
it was pretty bad. But then they just kind of got their footing. Like there were some guys that were super over. Like Juven Guerrero was huge. Like he was huge over. Eddie Guerrero was huge over. Let's see who else. Jericho was monster over even then. Funny thing about watching on the WWE Network is they must have lost the rights to his original music or whatever. They couldn't find it because they do the Break the Walls Down. And I was like, that's weird. Like, it's just like, well, I guess you got to go with what you got to go with. Perry Saturn was huge. And I was always a Saturn fan when I was a kid because, I just really thought he was a really good wrestler. And he was monster over. Goldberg and DDP, and we'll end it with this conversation. I know Andrew doesn't have an opinion on this, but
I'm just playing Rook on my phone
while we talk wrestling.
Yeah.
It was Halloween Havoc '98. It was DDP versus Goldberg, and a really, really good match. And Goldberg wasn't the greatest wrestler ever, but you could see him progress. Like he sold pretty well, even though he was booked as a monster. And his moves were awesome, and his whole persona was awesome. But DDP was super over in that match. But what people forget was Goldberg was super over too. And it's really sad that DDP they never really capitalized on DDP when he was super over. When he turned heel, I think he got his first title run, I think. But he was so over during that time, and that match was back and forth. And when you're reading the history, a lot of people say, well, Goldberg was starting to lose his luster. This was only about 2 months out from Starrcade. But people were still, like, he hit DDP with a monster spear, and everybody just popped for it. And so he was still getting some pretty good pops. And I know that, they said they was feeding in Goldberg and stuff. And I'm sure at some point that they did. But, you're looking at a range of only 2 months, and they said, oh, no, we have, he's not getting what he's not over anymore. I don't necessarily totally believe that. But it is what it is. Because I was really surprised because at that point I thought maybe he would start going downhill a little bit, especially against DDP, who was so over. But Goldberg was still huge over, which I was kind of surprised, to be 100% honest. Because I thought it would start going down. But obviously Kevin Nash beats him at Starrcade. Spoiler alert. But Kevin Nash booked himself according to Goldberg. But Kevin Nash
he did have creative control over his character, so.
Well, he did.
That's what you get with those big contracts.
Yeah, Goldberg said he booked him over it. Kevin Nash said that he didn't start booking until February, but we all know that, Kevin Nash didn't need to book to get what he wanted. So, all right, enough wrestling talk. This isn't Wrestling 101 here. Let's talk about some key releases. Hey, what do you say?
I said amen.
Listen here, just because you're Steph Curry's new BFF, okay? Just
Practically I am.
mean, you saw him went through his
He was driving himself. That's what's other than again the disappointment about driving a hatchback. Just don't know what to do with that kind of information.
Let's look at some key releases for the week. We'll go through it and then we'll kind of talk about it. Really no big movies, so I kind of totally skipped the movie thing this week. Video games, we've got, of course, last week we had both Uncharted 4 and Doom come out next week, so go pick those up if you're those are your things. Uncharted should be everybody's thing. Video games, you got on the 17th, we've got Homefront Revolution, PC, PS4, and Xbox One. We've got the re-release of the HD remastered of the Valkyrie Chronicles for the PS4, which was a PS3 game, I think a PSP game or a Vita game one. I think, or it was redone for PSP or something. But yeah, so PS4, go pick that up as well. I'm planning on doing that. I have the regular edition that can go into the trade box, so I'll probably get the remastered version. And of course, for your Fallout fans, if you didn't have enough of that game to play, 519 the Fallout 4 Far Harbor DLC for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One will be released. So go check that out, all you Fallout fans. Comic book releases, Volume 1 of the All New Inhumans, this is after the Secret War kind of relaunch. Global Reach is the name of that from Marvel. Howard the Duck Volume 1, Duck Hunt, all these are from Marvel, entitled Duck Hunt, so go pick that out. Mighty Thor Volume 1, Thunder in Her Veins, which is obviously the female Thor, which is, what is her name? Jane Foster is the female Thor, so go check that out. And the one that with the X-Men movie coming out, X-Men Apocalypse, they're releasing the Rise of the Apocalypse, and it basically collects some old Apocalypse stories. So I thought, with that movie coming out in a couple weeks, to kind of throw in there. So it collects Rise of Apocalypse 1 through 4, Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix 1 through 4, X-Men Apocalypse / Dracula 1 through 4. Yes, I said that. Let me repeat that. Apocalypse, Dracula 1 through 4. Black Knight, Exodus, and Fantastic Four, number 19 from 1961. I didn't research that. I don't know. Maybe they go back in time. I know that Apocalypse is basically an Egyptian god, so maybe they go back in time to Egypt or something. I don't know. I didn't really do my research on that, so I apologize. Go wiki it or something. But I thought that, just a bunch of Apocalypse kind of introducing the character to some people that maybe doesn't really know it. So, guys, is there anything in there that you kind of jump out at you there?
Probably the Howard the Duck stuff. Mm-hmm. Who was I listening to the other day? Paul Dini. He was working. I think he worked on the Howard the Duck movie. So that was kind of interesting, and I was listening to the backstory. I was like, I'd really like to go back and read that. I remember you picked up the
Essentials.
Yeah, the Essentials of it. I think there's 2 volumes.
I think there's 2 volumes. There's also one big volume where they color. It's in like a big hardcover color edition. Mine's black and white.
Yeah.
The Essentials are, but
yeah.
Actually, I touched on the first 4 episodes or the first 4 issues on monstersgeek.com, so go check it out. I did a spinner rack of them, so if you're interested.
Yeah. So I thought Howard was an interesting character growing up, and didn't really sit down and read a lot of it, but that's something that I'd like to do.
It's really good. I mean, there's a lot of social commentary, and I kind of touched on that. That's basically what that is the social commentary. And it starts out kind of goofy on social commentary. Like his first villain, I think, is called Pro Rata, which is basically like this IRS calculator, kind of poking fun at the IRS. But it ends up there's really, and I don't know if I touch on it in the issue. I don't think I get that far into it on the part on the spinner rack piece, but like he goes into a coma or he dies at some point, and it's him talking to the actual creator, and it's just, and it's not even it has illustrations, but basically it's a prose type thing. And back in the 70s, Marvel kind of was doing a lot of different stuff there, and it's very interesting. Actually, it's one of my favorite issues I probably read because when I opened it up, I was like, oh man, this is a lot. I guess this isn't even a comic at this point. And but the more I read of it, the more it was kind of questioning his existence and stuff like that. It's very kind of meta, I guess is a good word for it. But it was interesting to say the least. But yeah, I haven't read a lot of the newer stuff yet, but that's something, Jared, that kind of jumped out at me too. Andrew, anything jumps out at you?
I don't really. I'm the thing that jumps out to me is I would like you to explain to me Howard the Duck, because I don't know much about him, but I know that you got excited when he showed up in that post-credit scene.
Yeah, basically about I jumped out of my seat. So.
You did. We were both there. It's the same. We were.
Oh yeah, that's the movie we saw.
Guardians, right? That's what it was.
Yeah, it was Guardians.
Yeah. So I would like to know about him because I don't.
Howard was kind of brought in. If I can remember correctly, he didn't get his own series till I think it was 68 or maybe 68, 69, somewhere either late 60s or early 70s. But he was introduced in another comic. Basically, he gets pulled in on this kind of adventure from another universe with this like barbarian guy and this other woman. I can't remember what they're searching for, but he gets stuck on Earth after that. And basically, so he's a walking duck on Earth, and he looks a lot like Donald Duck to a certain extent, but obviously he's more blunt. He's more to the point.
When he was on there, I was like, "Why are you so excited about Donald Duck?" Like,
funny thing is they brought him back in the early 2000s for a mature take. I haven't read that one. It's one of the Marvel Max lines, and they had to literally change him to a rat because Disney threatened to sue. He looked too much like Donald Duck. So there's a really cool cover of him sitting there smoking a cigar, and he's a rat in Howard's suit. And he said, "Don't ask," and that's what the cover is. So it's a really cool, and he's very, he deals with politics and a lot of different. He deals with religion in there as well, because during that time he had a lot of televangelists and stuff like that going about the 70s. So it was much more of a kind of just like a social commentary at times, even though it was very funny and stuff like that. There was a lot of social commentary to it in the 70s, and it's on point. Like if you know anything about the 70s, that America was going through a lot of changes in the 70s, and it's just really on point about a lot of things. So I definitely recommend it. And he's never, it's not really a superhero comic. Howard will never be a superhero comic, but he, it's just a really neat kind of. It's one of those characters that you get really good kind of. Kind of true, not true story, obviously not true story, but, kind of more of a truer sense of the world around you and how they can use that to give you some commentary back on it. So go check it out. I want to check out that first one because it looks really cool. I've heard good things about it, but
cool.
But yeah,
I was just curious.
All right, let's move on to some main topics. So the big one, we haven't been here for 2 weeks, so some of this may be a little bit old, but I want to talk about Disney. Disney ends Infinity and shuts down internal studio Avalanche Software, getting out of game publishing. So they will not be publishing any games. I read this probably about the same time Jared did, because he texted me and was like, "Hey, did you see where Disney dropped Infinity?" And I was listening to the John Baum podcast, and that actually came across near the end of their episode. So they talked about 15 minutes about it, almost like a breaking news type thing. And interesting, to say the least. Disney chairman of consumer products and interactive media, Jimmy Pitaro, said they have changed their approach to console gaming and would be transitioning exclusively to licensing model. The news follows reports that Disney missed its Wall Street estimate for annual revenue and earnings, leading to a 6% drop in stocks during after-hours trading. So interesting, guys. Disney's kind of struggled in the publishing. They obviously Infinity is probably the best thing they put out. They did Epic Mickey, which everybody thought was going to be, this return to great Disney games. Really kind of fell through. They did the Castle of Illusion. I think they did the Castle of Illusion HD remake as well. But Jared, we grew up in the console era where Capcom did great Disney games, and you had some other ones. Disney games were good back then. Why do you think that they couldn't really recapture that?
Oh gosh, honestly, I don't know. There's, you see so many people try, I guess, but there are so many bad games that just happen. I grew up loving not all the Disney games, but the Epic Mickey you're talking about, I've heard nothing but good things come from people about it. But the platform it was on, coming out on the Wii, it didn't appeal to the bigger majority at that time.
Yeah, the controls were really bad on that game. They were. Shauna played it a little bit. or Epic Mickey 2, and they still had the same issues, control issue-wise. I think that's really what killed that game.
I think it's much easier for Disney to license it out, and right there, I mean, you're getting paid right off the top for the license, and you can license out to somebody who is going to make a solid game rather than you putting the money into it, not being able to recoup that money.
I think one of the things that the Epic Mickey did well, and this is secondhand information from someone else, but from a huge Disney file, in fact, that really liked Epic Mickey, was that because they published it in-house or developed it and everything in-house, they were able to hide all these super deep old school Disney references that you're probably not going to get if you contract that kind of thing out. So it's sad to hear that that's going to not be there, or would be unlikely to be there unless they find someone who's a huge Disney fan and is aware of all that stuff. It's probably not a big loss in the long run because I didn't play Epic Mickey, but hearing that kind of stuff was in there isn't something that made me want to play it anyway. But it's still disappointing to know that something that is really cool like that, because even though I didn't want to play it, it is cool, won't be there. But I think at the end of the day, it's not a huge loss.
What do you think that, obviously, as much as we wanted, Star Wars Battlefront to be more than what it was, it's pretty successful for them as far as money wise. Do you think that played into this? That they saw the Star Wars stuff and was like, we licensed them out to EA. They've got some pretty cool stuff going. I know that the Titanfall studio is doing a third-person Star Wars game now, which sounds pretty cool. There's Visceral, which did Dead Space, is doing one as well. So, I mean, that's got me pretty excited. Do you think that they looked at the Star Wars like, you know what? If we can find people that really love this stuff, we'll option it out. Or do you think it's more maybe they want to go mobile? Konami went mobile and pretty much got out of the big video game publishing company. And the funny thing is, Konami just posted that they, was up 6% from last quarter. Do you think we're going to start seeing more of Disney, hey, let's do some mobile stuff? Marvel's done a lot of mobile stuff, really no interest in going into the big AAA titles right now. But do you think the success of Star Wars being optioned out, per se, to another studio, do you think that played a lot into it?
Kotaku, I think it was Kotaku, actually had a story on why it failed, the whole kind of story. And it basically comes down to when they first released Disney Infinity, it was a big success because, much like Amiibo, they didn't make enough toys to keep up with the demand. And so there was high demand and people were going crazy and got to have this one and blah, 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 typical, classic supply and demand story. So when the second wave of stuff came out, they overproduced. They had stock sitting on shelves. They had stuff that they weren't selling, and they invested too much money in the toys, and then they weren't selling, and they ended up with a loss. That's the basic gist of what. I think it was Kotaku that was reporting that, but yeah.
How much does the market where it's been saturated now? Because we've got Skylanders, we have Infinity, we've got Amiibos, which is really. I mean, that's probably the most popular one now. I guess kind of supplants Skylanders to a certain extent, especially with a whole more of a gamut of ages. You got younger kids actually playing. You got guys. I've got some on my wall here. You think it's just? The Giant Bomb guys brought up a good point about where where this type of gaming is going. Do you just think it's kind of got oversaturated as well, and they just was like, hey, we need to pull out of this joint?
Yeah, I mean, you even have the Lego one now,
right?
So, yeah. And I think you'll just see more of it in the future, just continuing until it becomes one of those things where you beat the dead horse to death and nobody's going to play it anymore.
I think Nintendo hit it on. I think Nintendo's right on it with the Amiibos. I think you don't need the Amiibo to play the game, but they're cool they're well-made figurines, and then they're also, you get bonuses or bonus levels, like in Splatoon, you get bonus levels, you can play as Mega Man and Mario Maker or whatever. I think with Infinity and even Skylanders, like, you have to have that. Like, you still have to have that to play the game. I think that's something, if you don't have the figures, you can't play the game. And then you look at what Nintendo does, and they maximize what they want while still making them special, just like Andrew said. At one point, they just didn't get special anymore. which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I didn't know with the Disney amiibos or with Nintendo amiibos, I didn't know you didn't have to have them for some of those games. But I did read about the Lego when it came out, and some of did as well when it came out because I thought something that Lucy might would be interested in playing, but you do have to spend all that money, just to play. Oh, you 3 new levels, and you have to pay $10 or $15 every time. So in the long run, it's just something I don't think it would be worth.
no, it's not. And I think this is like I said, I think Nintendo has hey, here's a bonus, and they look really nice. I think that's what they're kind of hitting, and they've made Nintendo's never going to run out of money. Nobody I don't care what anybody says.
There's just way too much sitting in the bank.
Exactly. So it does look like that they are going to release some figures. The last figure will be Alice Through the Looking Glass and Finding Dory, which those will probably be at some point highly collectible, with them being the last ones. Disney has not yet announced plans for support of the titles moving beyond the general statements that nothing will change in the immediate future. So we don't know if they're going to cut it completely off and get rid of the game altogether, or what they're going to do as far as any DLC or anything like that they maybe have. But it was a big thing. I mean, it was all over Twitter. It was big news last week. But Disney, they know what they're doing, and if they can get their properties out to people that love them, and like the Capcom stuff for Nintendo, the majority of my old school Nintendo collection is Capcom Disney games because they were so good. So they've got some stuff to work with. Maybe some HD re-releases. They did DuckTales. They did Castle of Illusion, which was on the Genesis. Those Mickey games are awesome as well. So we'll see. I'm sure Disney will have something as far as game-wise. That does explain why they pulled out E3, so it does kind of connect the dots there. All right. Continuing with the video game news that we may have missed, EA releases Battlefield 1 trailer with release date announced for October the 21st for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. This was really cool. I'm not a huge first-person shooter fan. I stopped playing, I think I played Call of Duty, the second Modern Warfare, for like a week and decided it was the exact same game and went and traded it in. The guy looked at me really weird when I was like, I just don't like it. And he gave me kind of this perplexed look. And I haven't played a first-person shooter since, to be 100% honest. But this looks really cool. I was a big fan of the Medal of Honor series, the World War II stuff. I really liked. Andrew, you watched the trailer? What was your initial thoughts of it? A lot of people thought they would go into space like Call of Duty, but they went completely opposite of what Call of Duty did. What was your thoughts on it?
I actually didn't watch the Battlefield trailer.
Oh, Andrew.
I missed that one in the show notes. Talk about it. I'll watch it real quick.
Okay.
Talk about it. I'll watch it real quick.
Jerry, what do you think about the Battlefield 1 trailer? I was not expecting World War One. I mean, we always kind of tease, they haven't done World War One, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's World War One.
Hey, like you said, something that hasn't been touched on, which it might lack of weaponry. I think that's what draws a lot of people in, and that might deter a lot of people from playing. I mean, you've got the old school guns, but I haven't watched it the full trailer. I've seen bits and pieces of it, so I can't comment a whole lot on it. I think it's really interesting.
Well, it's a war that's never really been touched. I mean, I just watched the trailer today, and it looks really. I mean, obviously that's more of a CGI type trailer. You don't know what you're going to get as far as gameplay goes, but it shows the old school weapon. I mean, there's a lot of people that didn't know about the spiked mallet that they used. Everybody thought, it's a steampunk version of World War I. No, that really happened. One guy joked it was like they had a mallet and there's steam behind them, and somebody posted, it's steampunk version of World War I. No, it really happened that way. So it's going to have a lot of trench warfare. It's got, somebody said, this is right when warfare, as far as modern warfare that we know, it kind of started taking shape. We had chemical warfare with the mustard gas. The mustard gas, which was, made pretty much illegal after World War I by the, I guess, United Nations, or whatever it was, League of Nations or whatever it was at that point. You have dogfighting as well, which looks pretty cool. It's interesting. I think it really... Versus, I didn't even watch the Call of Duty trailer, but from what I understand, they're going on in space and it's all this futuristic stuff. they went completely different direction, which I think you have to really commend them for, because they want to be different. And I thought Battlefield 1 was something that it may actually be a game I pick up. I haven't picked up a first-person shooter in a long time. It looks interesting. I'm really super interested on how they pull this off with all the older weapons and the trench warfare and everything else. It's obviously going to be a very violent take on it. That war was very violent and brutal. It was one of those things where, people, from history, they started figuring out things, and there was, more weapons at their disposal. There is mustard gas. There's a scene in the trailer where mustard gas comes into play, and that's kind of made a lot of people mad, from what I understand. A lot of people think that including that has made, I guess, insensitive to those that haven't been affected the mustard gas. But, we have an ability with video games to reproduce history and actually play history. And one of the guys said, if they can do this right, and it's just not an arcade version of World War One, this could be one of those games. This could be one of those games that people look back on, man, that was a chance that they took, and EA killed it, and DICE killed it. So hopefully it's good. It's interests me, and I'm not a first-person shooter guy. So
the hard thing about it is World War One was a really boring war for the most part.
For the most part.
Yeah, because you had that dead zone in between the two groups. All you did was sit in your trench and shoot over the top of each other, and then one group would try to.
Well, we have no.
there was still horseback, but the majority of it was fought in the trenches.
Yep.
Just waiting for the other person.
We have No Man's Sky coming later this summer, and we'll have No Man's Land coming in the fall.
There you go.
We're set.
I guess that's true.
But it's interesting. I just had to get that in there, even though it was terrible.
Yeah, they knew they would just wait, and they'd be like, "All right, we're going over the top," and so they'd get up and run out into the middle of the field and get mown down by machine guns, and then a couple months later, they'd be like, "We're going over the top again. This is the big push," and the same thing would happen over and over again. So, but with the dogfights and stuff like that, that's something that I've always been interested in. You hear the Red Baron, and he actually shot down and stuff, and being able to use those planes, that's something that's not been done before.
Somebody joked that Snoopy was going to be DLC on a podcast, which I thought I started laughing really hard.
If they wanted to make a little extra money, that would be a definite way.
I don't think the estate of Charles Schultz would appreciate Snoopy, shooting.
Probably not, but he's flown in the plane enough.
All of a sudden, you see this doghouse. It'd be great if that was just some kind of Easter egg.
So they've put Snoopy and the Peanuts characters on everything else. Would it be the worst thing in the world if it was in Battlefield 1?
No, it may be one of the best things. Like I said, just all we need is a doghouse flying by.
I've seen enough terrible Charlie Brown shirts to not even really be worried about Snoopy showing up in World War One. It's just not even a big deal to me. There are far worse things that he's appeared in.
Yeah, it'd be cool if it did, but like I said, this is a pretty brutal war to be recreating.
I know it was a joke, but just kind of thinking.
It'd be awesome. I'd be all for it, but
wouldn't be the worst thing that Snoopy's ever been in.
No, probably not. All right, so go check out that trailer. It's like one of the most viewed trailers on YouTube history or something like that. So go check it out. It's pretty interesting. We'll see where this goes. It's interesting to say the least. So Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon started.
Oh yeah, I watched that trailer.
Of course you did.
By the way, I did watch the Battlefield trailer while you guys were talking. And anytime you put a trailer or put Seven Nation Army over a trailer, I'm in.
Even a bad dubstep version of it.
Yeah, I'm in anyway.
Andrew, you're a resident Pokemon champion. What do you think about the trailer for Pokemon Sun and Moon and then the starter trailer?
Well, my initial reaction was, hold on just a second. My wife is distracting me here. My initial reaction, because I didn't actually watch the trailer until just before the show, but my initial reaction was more to the starters designs that showed up, that cropped up on Twitter. So that's how I first saw them. And I love that Firecat. Lytton is its name. Great name, by the way. Very punny, very good. So I liked the Firecat, and I wasn't flipping my lid, but I was as close as a 28-year-old man can come to flipping his lid. And I hated the grass owl. Rowlet is his name.
Didn't everybody hate him?
No, everybody loves it.
Oh, it was opposite. Okay.
Yeah, and then they hate the seal that's obviously water type, and I'm like, that's not that bad. I mean, it does look kind of dumb, but the last time they had a dumb-looking water starter, it turned into Samurott, and people hated that thing too, and I really liked Samurott's design, so I guess I just like bad designs. I don't know. But that Firecat looked amazing, and then I tend to lean towards the blues, not like, the type of music, but I liked, I had Pokemon Blue, I had Pokemon Silver, which is closer to blue, Sapphire, like that. That's just kind of where I lean, but I really like that Sun starter, so I may end up buying Pokemon Sun, I don't know. But the Moon one looked cool too, but that Sun one just kind of is a very clever way to get a Sun-looking Pokemon. And so I like that. And then, the rest of it is kind of, there's not a whole lot to say about it, I guess.
I was reading about the lion and the bat that showed up, like the lion and bat-esque monsters. Do you think those are the legendaries? A lot of people are.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're on the cover, for sure.
Okay, cool. Well,
and one interesting thing that I did notice, too, was that at the end of the trailer, it just had like 30 seconds of dead time where they had just a bunch of music, and I was like, that's kind of weird. So I'm wondering if they cut something at the very end, and instead of shortening the trailer, they just were like, well, we have all this good music, we should just let the music keep playing, and we'll just sit on the final screen for an extra 15 seconds or something. I could be way off on that, and we'll never really know probably, but it just kind of seemed like odd to me that it sat there that long.
Are you surprised that they're not going to have this game at E3? I mean, it's all going to be Zelda. That's all it's going to be. Are you surprised that this game seems to have been in production for a while. Are you surprised that they don't have any kiosk open just for people to play it?
No, Pokemon sells itself.
That's true.
And Game Freak tends to bleed out information piece by piece through Koro magazine in Japan, and then obviously through these trailers and that kind of thing too. But no, I'm not super surprised. I don't think Pokemon usually has a big presence at E3, so it's not too surprising to me.
You think this is one of the last games for the 3DS? With the NX coming up, do you think
it's a loaded question? Probably. Okay. I mean, I don't think, obviously, if we're getting a new generation, we're not going to get like a Pokemon Z, which people speculated we would get. So yeah, probably. Although, if they are going to do a third game in this generation, because they're gonna have to do something, because they're out of ones to remake. Everything that's been remade, you can now get your Pokemon to every one of them to the Pokebank. Yep. So and pretty easily too, if I recall. I'm forgetting how you get. Ruby, Sapphire, not Ruby and Sapphire. Yeah, nope. Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart, Gold, Soul, Silver into, I forget how that happened, but I'm pretty sure it was pretty easy transfer. And then at that point, you've got them all. So I don't know if they really need to do any more remakes. All that to say, they may actually do a third game in this generation, because obviously they're not going to have any other. I don't think they're going to have any old games to fall back on.
Right. We've still got the new 3DS, but with all the NX banter.
Yeah, that doesn't count. They always neglect that. They always neglect that half remake.
So it's just going to be. I mean, we expect to talk about Nintendo for pretty much the rest of the year with the NX, and E3 was supposed to be exciting. Now it's kind of tapered off. We'll probably do like a little special thing on it or whatever. But it sucks when Nintendo doesn't have, when they have something they have the bullet in the gun, but they're gonna hold it off a little bit longer. So we'll see how that goes. All right, moving on to some movies. Some big news for Black Panther. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce her name, but her first name is Lupine. One of the major actresses. She has been casted. It's been confirmed that she's been cast as the love interest for T'Challa in Black Panther. Then a big one here, Michael B. Jordan has either been in talks or has been confirmed or something with Michael B. Jordan for a villain in that movie. Now, we all know that Ulysses Claw, which was played by Andy Serkis, is basically Black Panther's main villain. In the comics, he kills his father. Black Panther chops off his hand. He's kind of a weapons dealer, just like he is in Age of Ultron. He ends up he's a physicist in the comics, and he ends up figuring out how to make basically sound in the solid and basically turn himself into solid sound at some point. So we know that he's probably going to play somewhat of a role in this. It's kind of hinted with him stealing vibranium in Age of Ultron and Stark Tech and all that stuff that he's probably going to be in the movie somewhere. It's interesting. I don't know a lot about Black Panther. That's a big gap in my history as far as comics. Like I've said before, in Hickman's New Avengers was when I really started to like T'Challa and really kind of started digging the character. Somebody said that he's kind of as much as we say Daredevil's the Batman of the Marvel Universe, it's really T'Challa. T'Challa is kind of the Batman of the Marvel Universe, if you want to kind of get technical about it. So I kind of did some digging a little bit. And before we get into that, Jared, what do you think about the we've talked about how good Michael B. Jordan is. I haven't watched it, but Michael B. Jordan, I'm a big Friday Night Lights fan, and he was awesome in that. And that was one of his first big-time acting gigs, but he was pretty awesome. What do you think about when you heard that he was even considered, maybe even locked in, just not confirmed for a part there?
I was excited about it, just from seeing him in Creed. It didn't matter if he plays hero or villain or whatever. That's a huge get for that movie. I mean, he is a very talented actor, and I guess pretty much shoots down any Fantastic Four 2, which I didn't think would happen anyway. But you can never tell what some people do. But yeah, I think it's awesome.
Well, the writer came out for Fantastic Four. I was almost put this in there, but just as a side note, the writer came out and wanted to do 2, said I really want to do it right, and I was like, you're not going to get a chance, brother. I'm sorry about that. Andrew, what do you think about the news? Michael B. Jordan, obviously a big name over the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years at this point. What do you think about the casting? Or possible casting, I should say.
It's interesting. Despite following so many comic book nerds like I do, I didn't actually know about this news until I saw it in the show notes. But he's good. Obviously, she's fantastic. So I'm on board. I don't have anything negative to say.
Yeah, her name is Lupon Nyong'o, I guess is how you say that. I'm pretty close.
I thought it was Lupita. Is it not?
It may be. I don't know. You're probably right. But there's some possibilities. So I went through and I kind of Googled it and kind of what the interesting thing about Michael B. Jordan is he's going to be a villain. And Black Panther doesn't have, minus Claw, a ton of villains as far as I'm concerned, as far as, big time names. So they're going to have to take a character and kind of mold it into that. Her part, there is 3. Somebody did a really good article, and I wish I would have cited it because it's not up here now. But there's 3 possibilities. There's a woman called Malaka, which is a Wakandan trade envoy to Paris. She had a long relationship with T'Challa. Monica Lynn, which is a singer that almost married T'Challa at one point. And then there's a woman called Nakaya, which is I'm probably butchering every one of these names. Lupita Nyong'o. My wife just broke in on me there. She's like, "You're killing me." It's Lupita Nyong'o.
I was right.
You was right. Good job, Andrew. 1 point for Andrew. And 1 point for my wife. Actually, 2 points for my wife. Cause she's
I lost points for not knowing who Howard the Duck was, so I had to get them back.
So you're back at 0. Okay,
yeah.
You're firmly in even there. The other one was Nakaya, which fell in love with Black Panther, but she becomes a villain called Malice, which I think is out of it. So the other 2 maybe. There's also, Storm married Black Panther for a while. In the comics, but she's an X-Man, and unless they can work around the mutant thing, it's a possibility, but probably not. Now, George's possibilities come in. There's about 7. There's Dontrell Cockroach Hamilton, which is a Harlem-based hitman, Luke Cage villain, and fought Daredevil, I think, a couple times. Cottonmouth, which is a member of the Serpent Society, which could tie him even closer to Captain America, because that's one of Captain America's main villains or group of villains. You've got Death Tiger, which is a member of the Wakandan Death Cult. Black Panther, and I don't know if they'll get into this in the movie, but Black Panther can, at least from what I understand, and I may be wrong on this, can talk to other ancestors that were Black Panthers. And at one point, T'Challa in Hickman's run actually steps down as king of Wakanda and becomes king of the underworld, or whatever the Wakandan underworld is. So that's an interesting kind of thing there. I don't know if they'll get in super deep with that, but that's a pretty cool possibility. Eric Killmonger, powerful warrior and strategic genius, wants to rule Wakanda. Moses Magnum, president of the Deterrence Research Corporation. He's an armed dealer and a terrorist. Salamander Cruel, which is, I didn't write anything down, but I think he was just out of it. Tashawn, which is T'Challa's cousin, despises Panther and views him as a foe and a rival. So I think there's three. There's Eric Killmonger, which basically, you know, obviously trying to rule Wakanda. Everybody's trying to rule Wakanda because they're rich and have all and vibranium and all that good stuff. Moses Magnum, and I think Tashawn. I think those are the three characters that could really be. I think if they want to tie it in with Claw, Moses Magnum, from what I read about the character, may be the best option. Arms dealer, terrorist, you know, president of the Research Corporation. I think that's the one that I think it's going to be, but I may be wrong on that. But those three, Moses Magnum, Eric Killmonger, or Tashawn, you know, could be the three that could be it. So.
Hey, so you just brought up something, and I should ask you this offline and probably give a mild Civil War spoiler warning here. But I'll just kind of be as vague as I can, and you can tell me whether we should talk about it offline. Okay. So you mentioned the vibranium with Wakanda. I don't know a lot about Black Panther. Do they have a lot of vibranium? Is that how that works? Or?
That's basically their main resource.
Okay, like so they have a lot of it. And then does that tell us what we need to know about Cap's shield?
Probably.
Okay.
And Jared probably already knows this, comic-wise. So I don't think it's a huge spoiler, but I won't say why we're talking about Cap's shield. But.
Okay, well, let's throw out a big spoiler warning, and then I'll just ask the question I want to ask. How about that?
Jared, you all right with that?
I don't care. It don't bother me.
So here it is, guys. Spoiler warning. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to push pause.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Push pause. And then skip ahead like 30 seconds. But they didn't do that because they already paused it.
Why would you push pause, Aaron?
I'm sorry, skip. Well, you already got a pause, so you know what I'm saying. Skip forward, whatever.
Whatever. Anyway, you've been warned. So
send your email to Andrew when you hear it.
At the end, Cap, after their big fight, Cap leaves his shield with Stark, because Stark says, he said that was made, that belongs to the government or whatever, and you're, rebelling against the government, so leave the shield. So is he just going to get another one? Like, since he's teamed up with Wakanda now, he's just going to get another one?
Well, at some point, and Jared, this is where you probably know about it, is that he does get just a shield made of vibranium at some point. So, and I don't know when in the continuity he gets it. I don't know if he starts out with it or whatever it may be. Somebody, leave in the comments when it is. But at some point, his shield becomes vibranium, and I think that's probably where they're kind of leading. Because T'Challa and Captain America are super close. Like they're, the only time that he goes against Captain America is if it's against his people, and that's something very honorable with T'Challa, is that it comes down to his kingdom. He'll do anything to keep it safe. But him and Captain America are pretty close, and I think in Civil War, no spoiler here, they become closer as the movie goes along. So
am I completely dumb? Is the shield not already vibranium?
I thought it was already vibranium.
I thought it was already vibranium? Okay, yeah. So
that's,
I don't know the movie version.
That's why he scratches it. Or that's why he leaves scratches.
Because vibranium can only scratch vibranium. It's kind of like antimantium and antimantium thing. There's a site I belong to where somebody just went crazy with antimantium vibranium, and I don't even know where they got the info. Like even on Wikipedia, I don't think they go in that deep. This guy went crazy, but he went, there's class 2 antimantium and there's class 3 vibranium. I was like, man, no, just I don't know what you're thinking about. There's no classes. I don't know. I mean, his shield was probably, in the movie, I'm guessing it probably started out as vibranium at that point. But yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, that's probably going to lead up to him getting a new shield from Black Panther. So
cool. All right. And spoiler warning, you can stop fast forwarding now.
All right, so let's move on. We're getting a little bit late here. So a couple more some movie news. We're going to skip the Assassin's Creed trailer. It looks really good. Me and Andrew watched it. Looks really good. Cinematography looks good. Fassbender.
To my shock, I can't believe it. And And plot-wise, it'll probably suck, but yeah.
Yeah, it could break the video game movie curse.
What are you talking about? Mario Brothers did that.
And Mario Brothers started video game curse.
But it looks good. I mean, it was surprising. I mean, I didn't expect to be like, "Whoa, it looks pretty good." But
hey, what is your all's favorite video game movie? Mine is Mortal Kombat.
That may be the only good one.
I'm gonna pull a technicality.
It's not good either, but
No.
I'm pulling a technicality and saying The Wizard.
I love The Wizard.
That's technically a video game. It was a Nintendo commercial, for goodness sakes.
Which I hadn't looked ahead in the show notes, which I just read it today. Did you see where Nintendo is thinking about getting in producing movies?
I saw that. Yep.
I didn't know if it was in the show notes. I haven't really looked at them, but I thought I'd bring that up since we were talking about video games.
They should do animated stuff. They should get in with Disney and be like, Pixar does animated movies.
Yeah. Yeah, those Nintendo Directs, the E3 Nintendo Directs have been so stinking well done lately that I suddenly believe. At first I was like, ooh, no, but then I was thinking, those Nintendo Directs have been good.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can look it up on YouTube. When IGN produced on April Fool's Day, they put out a trailer for a Zelda live-action movie or live-action TV series, and it was amazing looking.
And it was an April Fool's joke, wasn't it?
It was an April Fool's joke. It made everybody mad, but it actually looked really well. I think there's some of those things you could pull off live action.
Wasn't there a rumor, I think it was a rumor, that Netflix was talking to Nintendo about getting a Zelda series?
That rumor, I think, was true. Yeah, that was a true rumor.
I don't think it would work, but
came out with it.
What actor are you going to hire to not speak?
That's good. Yeah, because as soon as Link speaks, yeah, boy, that internet's going to break in half.
Yeah.
So. All right, so let's move on to some Wolverine 3 news. It's going to be rated R. I'm sure Deadpool has something to do with that, but basically going to be, from what I understand, probably Old Man Logan, which me and Jared's kind of talked about. If you haven't read that, please go read Old Man Logan. It is one of the best Wolverine stories you will ever, maybe one of the best comic book stories you'll ever read. Mark Miller, Steve McNiven. McNiven's artwork is amazing in that. I'm gushing because it's a really good story. Basically, it's going to be almost from what the producer said. He said it's a very radical, bold, different Wolverine than you've seen in any of these movies. He said that it's going to be more like a Western, and maybe not play in. It's going to be more of a standalone movie, and so James Mangold will come back to direct. He did the Wolverine in 2013, and 2009's X-Men Origins have been washed clean. And it's set to release on March the 3rd. This is really cool. This is a really good story. There's going to be some problems because they don't have some rights to some of the characters that's in it, so we'll see how they kind of play around that. But Jared, what do you think about that announcement? More of a Western-style Wolverine movie, kind of like Clint Eastwood as Wolverine, I'm guessing is what it's going to be.
I think, especially with it being rated R, it more suits a Wolverine movie. Has been needed. They've tried to find ways around it, but you kind of need that the grittiness that you can get with that rated R. Not necessarily for language or anything, but there is some of the over the top action that goes on in the comics that the fans have really missed out on just because they've been trying to hold to that one standard that you can't show too much. You don't want to push that button too much, but now that Deadpool has, I think you'll finally get to see a Wolverine movie
Yeah, I think Wolverine, even more than Deadpool, I think should have a rated R movie before. Mm-hmm. I think he's within one character minus the Punisher that I feel like a rated R movie would really take that franchise up above what it already is. I think it's really hard to do a Wolverine movie in PG-13. Because he is a very violent character.
Till the last movie to do
it. Good job, man. I guess we have Deadpool to thank for that. I'll watch a rated R Wolverine movie because it's gonna be more or less. You want you want to see a Tarantino movie, a Tarantino superhero movie, this is probably going to be it. So just keep that in mind. But I'm pretty stoked about that. If you don't hear Andrew actually, I think his computer actually died. So he may be back on if he gets the charger there. But if you don't hear him, that's why. Or that I muted him because he hates Ninja Turtles. Let's see. So, Jared, I want to kind of lump these in together. You're more of a TV guy than I am, but we went through some canceled shows, some shows that's been picked up and moved. Obviously, the big cancels are the Muppets and Peggy Carter. So, Peggy Carter, contributor, Jenna, the one of our contributors, she's kind of like our MCU kind of expert. She watches S.H.I.E.L.D., she watches Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Peggy Carter, she was super bummed about this. There's been some stuff with Netflix. There's been 21,000 signatures already for them to bring it to Netflix, which we may or may not see. Possibly Amazon, whatever, can hook onto the show there. So it was canceled. It had a big drop. It dropped about 46.5% of its viewers from episode 1 to the finale. It didn't average great numbers after the season premiere. Had one episode that saw an increase, and that was episode number 8. It was like a 4% increase, so not a huge increase there. So you can see why, even though it's kind of a niche show, it's kind of it does have a pretty loyal following. I can see why ABC, I'm sure it was tough for them to do it, but I can see why ABC after 2 seasons decided to, just for financial reasons. The Muppets just, that show sucked from the beginning. It had a huge opening and had 6 weeks of the show dropped off double-digit percentages. Premiere had 9 million viewers, but dropped 4 million viewers by the second episode, which is a monster drop-off. The season finale only drew 2.7 million viewers, so it dropped off ridiculously. Almost 7 million by the time the season went away. Jared, one thing about the Muppets that was interesting to me. You look back at the original show, I guess in late 70s, early 80s, right? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
That was more of a variety show, and it worked. Those even now, those shows are really, really good. They kind of almost made it almost like an Office, almost like a real kind of sitcom, and it just didn't work. And I wonder if it was ever an idea to be like, let's just go back to because they had a mid-season that picked up a little bit, but then after like the 6th episode, people just stopped watching it. Do you think that if they would have started with more of that original take of the show, do you think it would have lasted longer?
Yeah, I think you could have built in some of the stuff they were trying to do, and say, like, oh, this is some backstage stuff, or this is stuff from, their personal life or whatever, and build that into the show while having guests and other things. I remember I had some friends who really liked the Muppet Show. Was it closed out TGIF? I think in the early and mid '90s, maybe.
I think so.
And I knew some people that really liked that, but it kind of built in some of that variety. So after that first episode, it was pretty much doomed. I read a lot of reviews about it because I was thinking about watching it, just because I liked the 2 Muppet movies that they had put out in the last couple of years.
And
yeah, those are really good. And so going back and reading the reviews on this, everybody just bashed it. I think the opening episode maybe got like a 6 or a 5 or something like that. Most people rated it. So it's not very good overall. And, I love those characters. Muppet Babies is favorite cartoons of all time. That's just some of the things I remember waking up on Saturday morning. And I love those characters. And I've got Lucy and them to watch some of the Muppet movies. So, I hate to see it go down like that, but I just don't think it was very good.
Yeah, I think it's what hit it. And like I said, I think they had the formula right there, and they just didn't capitalize on it. I think it was almost not necessarily an adult take on the characters, but it was much more of a mature take, and it just never really took off. Peggy Carter, from what I understand, was a really good show, and I'm kind of I'm kind of, because Jenna really likes him. From what she wrote about it, it was a show that was very well made, a lot of good actors and stuff in it. Just a very good show. Obviously had that mixture of Marvel drama with Marvel humor that was really nice. So I'm kind of upset that went away. But Marvel can't seem to capitalize because even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been discussed. Almost every season that they were, thinking about canceling it, moving it, whatever they was going to do. So hopefully they can start. It's hard to go from these big epic movies down to the small screen, and I think that's what they're really struggling with. So, but hopefully Marvel will come up with something else, and maybe Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will hang around for a little while longer. Jared, one of the ones that Supergirl picked up for another season. It was really iffy if that was going to be picked up, but it's going to be moved to the CW. So this one had 12 million views from the season premiere. Had a 30% drop off in viewership for the second episode. Did average around 7 million, which was pretty good. So, I mean, it kind of, maintained over half of its viewership, which is a good number. I know that they did a crossover with The Flash called World's Finest. So I kind of got curious to see if they ever had a bump. And there were some episodes, it was 13%. I think it was 20%. But that episode, which was episode 18, I believe, jumped about 33%. And I think as far as, because I got curious to see if that episode really had a lot of success. And I don't know about you, Jared, but you watch a lot of the CW stuff, and I've watched a little bit of Arrow, not really much Flash stuff, but you really like it. And Lucy, your oldest daughter, which is 6.
She just turned 6.
She really likes the Flash. And you said that she's kind of gravitated towards that character, and she really likes it. I always thought, and maybe you can comment on this, I thought that Supergirl should have started on the CW.
Yeah, it should have, but for some reason, I don't even know the reason. I listened to not Kevin Feige. I know it's Berlanti and I can't remember the other guy's name. I listened to them talk about like the whole build up and trying to get the show going and all this, and then they kind of gave him the character and said, here you go. But CW was the first to jump on it, or not CW, but CBS. He's building all these characters in the same universe, so why wouldn't you have it on the same network? I think because of maybe a little bit of Batman v Superman, that you have that Supergirl appeal to it, and they're like, you think maybe it could go mainstream and to pick up on it with bigger numbers and stuff. So I kind of think that's where that came out of initially, because everybody was so hyped for Batman v Superman. But if you them to be able to do what they want to do, I think CW is the place to go. They're kind of building everything around that, and rumor has it that he's getting ready to produce a Booster Gold movie.
Oh, that would be awesome.
So that he could, that's another character that maybe they're talking about bringing into Legends of Tomorrow, or even Arrow or the Flash or something like that.
Boosters in it, the Blue Beetle can't be too far behind.
Yeah, all those. It's just like he's playing in his own toy box, and he's succeeding at something that DC can't do.
Right. Yeah, their TV stuff, from what I understand, is obviously much more has much more of a plan than the. I hate to keep crapping on Warner Brothers and DC movies, but they're just all over the place.
They've kind of let him. And I know a lot of people are getting tired of some of the stuff that's been going on with Arrow. A lot of the flashbacks, people don't like, but season 5 is going to take a big turn and kind of change the format of the show a little bit to mix things up to keep it fresh. And it is a villain of the week type thing, but at the same time, it's almost like watching the shows on Netflix, the Marvel shows, because you're still building continuity, and there's always those constant running back stories, even if you do have a new supervillain of the week or whatever. It's not one of those shows where oh, well, this happens and this happens, and it's the same thing every week because you always have these storylines running in the background, and that's something that I really like. You see the procedurals like the old Matlock, and I don't know about CSI or anything like that now, but a lot of times the week before, it's just always what happens this week with the new character. So that's one thing I really like about the CW shows.
Yeah, Holy Garters, I mean, a lot of people said it was a little bit boring. And usually first season's kind of setting up, like at least half of that is set up for the character itself. So it can be a little bit plotting. But I always thought it should have been on the CW. I was really surprised when CBS picked it up because, CBS is more, it does skew more older, if I'm not mistaken. You got this NCIS stuff. You've got a lot of those like procedurals that you talked about that really kind of, that's where they get their big ratings. And they have comedies like The Big Bang Theory that, go towards the younger, Two Broke Girls have been pretty successful. The Melissa McCarthy,
which it got canceled
after the last season. I think 6th season, they had a pretty good run there. So they're more of a sitcom procedural stuff. When it got picked up, I was like, boy, that's going to stick out like a sore thumb. And from what I understand, it just didn't fit on the network. Like it just, I was surprised that it held half of its viewership. I thought it would drop off kind of like Peggy Carter. But I was very impressed that it held half of its viewership. So hopefully it does better on CW. From what I understand, they're getting a lot of stuff right. It's just some people kind of lost interest before it got ramped up a little bit.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what villains that they get to bring in. Which I don't know a lot about Supergirl, but they have hinted at, I think was in one episode of Supergirl. So it'll be interesting to see if they'll let them use maybe some of those Superman villains they're not planning on for any movies or anything. But Sci-Fi just picked up Krypton.
I saw that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, and I think, Berlanti has a very close relationship with Sci-Fi. He did 1 or 2 shows on there. I can't remember what they were, but there was talks about Sci-Fi picking up a Booster Gold show at one time. So you can get a movie across and fit him into that universe. You could see, Booster Gold and Blue Beetle start to come into it. So.
Speaking of DC, they did have another. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's kind of exciting to be a superhero fan to get to see all this stuff right now.
I think there's one series that I would be very interested in. That would be the Teen Titans, and I know TNT kind of flirted with it, and there was some talks about them ordering, but they never came out of it. I'm a big Teen Titan fan, especially Jeff Johns' run. I think is one of the better ones. Obviously, the old George Perez and Marv Wolfman stuff was really good in the '80s. When they were going head-to-head with the X-Men. Like, they were right there with them as far as teenage superhero teams. And I would love to see that on TV or even, possibly on the big screen. But
they're getting ready to – I haven't watched I guess this week's of The Flash. But Wally West, Teen Titan, and the Flash and Teen Titans.
Yeah, he's the second Titan. Yeah, he's after Barry after Crisis goes.
I knew that.
He was Kid Flash for a long time too.
Yeah, and who else is in Teen Titans?
You got
Speedy
Grayson is Nightwing, Starfire, Raven, Cyborg, Beast Boy. Of course, Kid Flash or Barry was in it for a long time. So
there's
a lot of really cool characters. I think that's tailored for more of a TV show than a movie, but we got some pretty cool characters. Especially now that they're using Cyborg, they probably won't be able to use Cyborg for the show, but
right. I didn't know if Speedy was in there as a Teen Titan or not. I think that, they can build with some of these secondary characters, kind of like they did with Legends. You could about take a lot of them and build it into kind of like a Teen Titans type thing.
I think Speedy came in a little bit. I don't know if he was ever in the original one or not. I'm not entirely for sure on that. But I know in Jeff Johns' run, the Speedy of that time, which was what was her name? I can't remember her name. And also Wonder Girl was in there as well. The original Wonder Girl was in there. But then they did another Speedy that she ended up being part of it, but I don't think she's made her debut on the show. So
Okay.
The other show, and we'll end with this, and then we'll kind of get out of here. But speaking of DC, they did have a superpower, kind of a superhero workplace comedy called Powerless picked up. It's basically, I guess, from the way it read, kind of like an insurance company that covers the superpower stuff, kind of like Damage Control does in the Marvel universe. Interesting to see it on NBC. Kind of wasn't expecting it to be on NBC, but it stars Vanessa Hudgens, Danny Pudi, is that how you say it? Pudi, guy on plays Abed on Communities on there.
Oh, yeah.
There's one other guy's face that I mentioned that I saw. I think it's Nick something. I can't remember. But I can't remember who else. But it looked like a pretty good cast. Kind of like The Office meets superheroes. I want this to be really good. I think there's. I mean, it's there. Like the concept is really funny. But yeah, I just don't know if it's. I'm afraid they'll try to make it too much like The Office, and everybody's like, "Well, this ain't The Office," and then kind of like the first season of Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really kind of afraid they'll try to do that. It'll kind of turn people off.
I think there were talks of Marvel putting out Damage Control.
There was for a while.
Yeah, and I think there was still flirting around with it, but DC kind of beat them to the punch. So I think it'd be really interesting, especially, if you're trying to tie what'll determine it. If you're going to tie it in with the movie universe or the TV universe, you're going to have some references somewhere. Are they going to let them use Batman and Superman's names to clean up, this kind of mess that they're creating? I think that would really help out, and even have some of them drop by sometimes. Have Henry Cavill come in as Superman.
Yeah.
I think that would be really just stopping by, like signing his insurance policy or something like that. To make those type of cameos to kind of
like Jimmy Olsen signs up because he takes care of his insurance or something.
Yep. Just something like that to give something interesting. But it'll be kind of hard to fit in that DC universe where it's so dark.
Yeah.
And, if they try to tie it in with the TV, it's a much more lighthearted at times and can be. But, you're crossing networks again. So,
yeah, that's going to be hard, especially NBC and CBS and, all that crazy stuff, so they, obviously competitors more than anything else. So
it's an awesome idea for a show.
It is an awesome idea for a show, and this has been bantered around for a while. Like this is, early last year, this has been bantered around. So I'm glad. I think it got picked up for a 6-episode run, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna see what it looks like and see if I enjoy it. And then it's got a good cast, so we'll see where it goes from there. But Jared, thank you for taking time out of your vacation, man, to be with us. Like I said, Andrew's computer died, and he texted me and he said, I don't have nothing else to say, so it's probably good that I dropped off. So Joe's sick, so hopefully he'll get better, and we'll see him next week. But Jared, thanks for taking the time out, man, and taking time out from your vacation to be on today. And any last things you want to say?
No, I'm ready to go get some rest for the next 3 days.
Get ready for tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate it. And this has been the Monsters of Geek podcast, episode number 13. Don't forget to go visit our site, monstersofgeek.com. We've got some cool stuff going up this week. Also check out Spirit Sports and Sarcasm. A little bit of plug. Me and Andrew's on another podcast. We talk about some spirit stuff and talk about sports, and we bust on each other. So go check that out with some friends from church. And Jared is exclusive to Monsters of Geek, so if you want to hear more of Jared's thoughts and opinions, you only get him here. We've got him locked up, so he's our Colin Cowherd. We lock him up real quick. But yeah, so go to the website, monstersofgeek.com. We have a Facebook page under Monsters of Geek blog and also YouTube under the same name. Also check out the Twitter page at monstersofgeek.com. And also we would like to do some Q&A. So our website, obviously our email is monstersofgeek@gmail.com. So we would like to maybe do a Q&A section here. So please or tweet us a question if you want to, whichever one you want. But email us some questions, and if it's a good one, even if it's a bad one at this point, we'll still probably read it and answer it. So, but just send us an email. We like to do a Q&A session. It's something I've been thinking about. So we need some emails. We need some questions. So please send us your questions at monstersofgeek@gmail.com. So for Jared, for Andrew, and for a sick Yeti who's recovering, this has been episode 13 of the Monsters of Geek podcast, and we are gone.